and gentlemen, there is hope for humanity. This is big news. I'm sure you're all going to love this guy just as much as I do. But firstly, trigger warning, if you don't like Donald Trump, avert your crying eyes because Argentina has just elected as their president Donald Trump's twin. This guy is a 53-year-old economist turned president out of the middle of nowhere. He is an avowed libertarian, anti-socialist, and here's some of his antics.
¿Por qué le pones de mierda, digamos?
Porque son una mierda. O sea, no, pero es que si pensás distinto te van a aniquilar.
El socialismo cool, si ustedes no son woke, entonces son violentos, son un peligro para la democracia. Vamos, muchachos.
¡Zurdos, hijos de puta, tiemblen! ¡La libertad avanza! ¡Viva la libertad, carajo! ¡Vamos!
He is an eccentric man, but don't let his outgoingness fool you. This man means business. He has already sworn to shut down Argentina's central bank, slash public spending by at least 15%. He's inheriting a burning dumpster fire from the former socialist government, and that's how he won. The country is sick of living in poverty. He's also said he's going to dollarize the economy. Argentina still has the peso. And just to give you a good idea, because wouldn't we love to see this happen here, he's already shut down the Ministry of Women, Gender and Equality and Diversity. He's like, nah, that can go out the door straight off the bat. You're gonna love this guy. I can't wait to see what else he gets up to. And of course, it took absolutely no time whatsoever for the lefty garbage media to go into meltdown mode. Take a look at this and you'll realise, if you've been paying attention during the presidency of Donald Trump, this all sounds very familiar.
A far-right outsider compared to former President Donald Trump has been elected to president of Argentina.
Coming from the far right, Javier Milei.
A far-right politician.
The far-right politician.
Far-right candidate.
Far-right outsider.
Extreme right-wing.
Milei is just way out there on the extreme scale.
Argentina has elected a right-wing populist.
Right-wing populist.
Right-wing populist.
Javier Milei is a populist who lacks government experience and displayed erratic behavior and foul language.
You can guess who congratulated him by saying, "Make Argentina great again."
Make Argentina great again.
Make Argentina great again. He had a cap that he wore that said that very thing. So the parallel being drawn between him and Trump, he's just leaned straight into it. He doesn't care. In fact, here he is using one of his favourite props throughout his presidential campaign, which is a chainsaw, which he said symbolised just how much he was going to slash spending and get rid of the political elite that has crippled Argentina for many years now. Here he is celebrating. But for a few serious words now, here's our own Greg Sheridan, foreign editor at The Australian, giving us his take on Argentina's new president.
Argentina is very different from most Western nations. You know, it's got 140% inflation and 40% of its population living in poverty. Massive government deficit, inability to run coherent economic policy, tax policy out of control, people not paying their taxes and so on. I wouldn't quite necessarily describe this guy as far right. He's a libertarian, so he wants radical economic change. He wants a big cut to the size of the Argentine state. He wants to abolish the local currency and dollarise the economy so that it has to live genuinely within its means.
And would you believe it, Argentina's stock market is already soaring post the election on the weekend.
Boom, boom, soaring. Chain soaring.
Socialism turns out is bad for the economy. Who knew?
Who would have thought? And can you believe in those clips we played there of other media outlets, you know, Birdman, they're saying his erratic behaviour and his foul language. I mean, that's why you want the guy.
Exactly.
I like a bloke with erratic behaviour and foul language because it proves he's human. And in this world of these sanitised, non-conviction leaders and politicians, in this bloke, you have a conviction politician because he said, I don't give a toss what anyone else thinks of me. Yeah. I'm here for one job and one job alone, to fix the economy and to talk about freedom. And that's exactly what he wants to do. I mean, for heaven's sake, Argentina has an inflation rate as of last month of 143%, as if they didn't want some level of change. And
40% of the country is living in poverty. That's where socialism gets you.
Exactly. So someone comes along and says, I'm actually going to do something about it, and I mean it.
So his erratic behaviour and his language, when inflation is almost 150%, when 2 in 5 Argentinians are living in poverty, who cares about his language? There was a guy quoted in the paper, he said, if we're going to be ruled between, and we've got a choice between a madman or a thief, we'll choose the madman every time, because they've had 100 years of socialist thieves ruling them, so they've decided, you know what, we're going to take our chances with this guy. And I've got to say, Liz, I have never seen you looking as bright or as flushed in the face or as chirpy as doing that introduction.
Bring sideburns back, seriously. No, but this is a revolution. It does give you hope because it means that more and more people are rallying around the outsiders, which Trump always was. I mean, when he became president, people didn't know all that much about him except that he was a rich guy and...
Celebrity apprentice.
Exactly. You're fired. And that was about it, right? But it meant that the institution had failed to get their guy up. And that outsider achieved more during his term than any other president before him, as far as I'm concerned, especially in terms of foreign policy. And didn't the world go to hell once the Biden administration unpicked all of that? But I just love this because at his core, when you watch his clips, this is a man who loves his country. He loves his people, and he doesn't give a flying rip about the haters. That's how he reflects Trump. And whether people like it or lump it, the world needs these kinds of leaders right now because we are up against a visceral socialist contingent that is trying to push its agenda throughout, particularly the Western world. And it's only leaders like this that the media flip out about as well because they're like, we can't control him. He's out of control and he does not care.
And you'd be mistaken to look at those clips of him behaving in a crazy fashion, which allows him to break through with a media that is completely against him. But you'd be mistaken to think that that's who he is when you listen to him speaking seriously. I mean, he says things that other Western leaders should be saying but are too afraid to say. He says the government generally causes more problems than it solves. He says social justice relies on 2 things, the approval of theft and the approval of inequality before the law. He says that we're in the middle of a culture war, and he says socialists do not let up because they're leeches who want to get everything for free. Therefore, you've got to fight them every single day. And then faced with death threats and asked, is he worried about his own safety? I love what he said. He said, life without freedom is not worth living.